Well, welcome back to MGSTV. I'm your host Andrew Scott, and we're here with Commissioner Richard Schuetz of the California Gambling Control Commission. Welcome to MGSTV, Richard.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Well, we're interviewing your chairman a little later today, so I'm going to leave most of the tricky California questions to him, but you've had a very long time in the gaming industry and you've got some really interesting insights. I want to focus on some of the things you've done over the last 40 years in the industry. Now, first of all, this is the first ever Macau gaming show. What are your impressions?
Absolutely fantastic. I think for a first launch program, it's well beyond anyone's expectations, and I see this growing into an absolutely excellent vehicle to display the magnificent talents that are in this market.
Well, Richard, you joined the gaming industry in 1972, over 40 years ago. You must have seen some incredible changes over the decades. What do you think were the most important and fundamental changes to the industry over the last 40 years?
Well, I started in the gambling business. I was a college student and I needed to finance my education, so I started dealing cards and dice at night for Bill Harrah, one of the original people. And I think what I have seen of significance is a continuing evolution with respect to the magnificence of the product. It went from very simple casinos to the absolutely incredible resort destinations that we have, and the ultimate statement of those is now in Macau. I think the other change that I've seen that's important and material is an increase in the legitimization. It went from kind of a dark and sketchy industry into a very legitimate business that is accepted by people as a legitimate form of entertainment, and of which the financial controls are as complete as in any corporation in America or anywhere in the world. It's a legitimate, good business. Creates jobs, creates employment, creates entertainment experiences.
Well, you've been a senior executive in numerous US gaming hubs, including Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and many more. But you've also spent time in Macau, teaching at the University of Macau and also the Macau Polytechnic Institute. So this puts you in a good position to compare the two markets. What do you think are the most fundamental differences between casino gaming in Macau and the US?
Well, in the Macau experience, it is now the center of gaming in the world. You operate on a scale that is unknown to the world, both in terms of the physical plants, the beauty of these facilities, the financial performance, and also the quality of the managers and owners. I have found this, the reason I'm here is to study gambling at its very best, and that's why I'm in Macau.
Have you spent much time visiting Asian casinos outside Macau, like Singapore, the Philippines, emerging markets in smaller countries?
I have never been into too many Asian countries. I had the honor of giving several lectures in Singapore, and I'm quite impressed with those facilities there. Once again, complete destination resorts.
Well, as soon as this interview ends, you'll be heading over to the Macau Gaming Summit, the conference for the Macau Gaming Show, to speak on internet gaming in the US. So what factors do you personally believe have led to the US to being quite slow to embrace this form of gaming compared to Europe, where internet gaming's been around for quite a while now?
I think one of the things that held back or retained the internet space is that we had a very serious brick and mortar component. There was huge investment in that. There were established companies. Those companies had good political connections, and they were a little bit concerned with the internet delivery system of gambling and weren't anxious to have these multi-billion-dollar investments replaced by possibly someone being able to play a game on an internet application. So I think it was a fear of a new delivery system and how it may impact the existing status of things. So I think that was one of the areas. I think there was a lot of ignorance surrounding the internet space in the United States, and oftentimes when people don't understand something, they fear it, and I think that's been responsible also for being slow. And there were also some bad experiences. You know, we had offshore companies that did not have good regulation, they didn't have good controls, there was some inappropriate activities taking place, and I think that damaged the image of the model for some time.
Okay, well, sticking with internet gaming, it's often been argued that internet poker should be treated differently to other forms of casino gaming. What's your view on that?
I absolutely agree that internet poker is a different game than the other types. First of all, there's the whole issue of liquidity, which is quite important. But more importantly, I think that the potential of cannibalization of the brick and mortar environment with poker is not there. I think the internet poker environment can be used to enhance participation in the brick and mortars by having tournaments online that then they have final rounds in the casino. I think you can drive traffic back and forth, and that's a fundamentally different situation than just being able to offer a suite of games like playing a slot machine at home versus at a casino. No, poker's a social game and it can be cross-marketed quite well with a brick and mortar facility.
Richard, there have been a number of scandals in the internet gaming world over the last few years. We've seen the DOJ indictments against Stars and Tilt and Ultimate Bet. That stand out as an example, and even worse was the complete collapse of Full Tilt Poker and the loss of around US $350 million in player funds. Now, that was eventually covered by PokerStars. It's argued that scandals like this can both help and hinder the cause of those pushing for the legalisation of internet gaming. So on the one hand, such scandals highlight the potential for problems, but on the other hand, they also show what can happen when there isn't an effective regulatory framework in place. What's your view on this?
I absolutely agree with that point. Scandals can damage the perception of the industry, but internet gambling exists in the United States, and it exists now from offshore sites operating in our country with no controls over bankrolls necessarily and no regulation. So I don't think the question in the United States is do we have or not have internet gaming, especially in poker. I think the question is, do we have it in a regulated environment where we can protect the player, have employment benefits and taxation benefits, or do we continue to allow it to be run from offshore with no protections for our players, little tax benefit, and no additional employment? No, I am very much of the school that internet can be offered in a safe and controlled environment. Customer protections can be in place, and it can be used to the benefit of all participants.
Richard, as someone who's held a number of leadership positions in the gaming industry, what characteristics do you think make a great leader, specifically in the gaming industry?
Well, I think that it takes a good level of education. I think that this has become a very technically sophisticated industry. I think experience in the reality of the casino environment is important. You can't just walk in from a classroom or another business and get this business. It's very unique. And I think that this is a people business, and one needs skills with dealing with people, both the human resources, the employees of the facility, and also the customers. So I think if you put excellent education along with on-the-floor experience combined with great people skills, you've got someone that can run one of these places quite well.
Well, Richard, thank you very much for your time. And we'll see you next time on MGSTV.